and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday edition of Ask the Theologian. Glad you're here. Hope you're having a delightful day. As we come to question the assumptions, will be a little persnickety, and we might be snarky. We might have some first-time questions. We might serve up some sarcasm. We might give away free books. We definitely will be biblical and entertaining and a delight for the eyes. I was not talking about me, a delight for the eyes. I'm talking about, there we go. I'll show you some birds just so we'll have some delight for the eyes. We have the nuthatch. The nuthatch, and that's a live feed there. I think those are both nuthatches, right? They set me straight on rightly dividing the birds. I'm pretty convinced, having studied this extensively yesterday, that we have both nuthatches and chickadees at our little snowy spot in the woods, right there, the live shot. We need a woodpecker to come along. But some would rather have theological questions answered, and so we'll go with it. Puerto Rico, good to see you. Ohio, Pennsylvania. We've got, oh, Toby, I like that. I want to play this intro music all day long. Well, maybe I could start selling the, what do you call that? The track. We actually own that. That's ours. Had that done a number of years ago, and I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And I think I might even have a 3-minute version. There's 3-minute versions, there's 1-minute versions, there's 30-second versions. I think that's the 30-second version on there. Might even be a 15-second version on there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, maybe we can take care of you. Someday I should put some words to it or something. But it's a hard tune, you know. I'm pretty decent at hearing a tune and putting it, but that's a hard tune to like repeat. When I go to, you know, trying to in my mind and mouth, it doesn't come out right. I don't know what it is about that song. But nonetheless, here we are. I was trying to remember where I left off yesterday. We talked about this. Home Bible College? Maybe? I think that's where we're going to go. I may be wrong here, but pardon me about all that. But let's go. Oh, somebody's got a birthday. Stephen, happy birthday. Stephen in Winston-Salem, 79 years old today. And his daughter is also having a birthday. Good to see you. Home Bible College, Stephen in Shrewsbury. Oh, that's the question. I am sorry. I have got to get that. I have been meaning, so I got to write this down. Trent, remind me of this. I got to study the prophetic custom explained by Robert Young in his preface. I'm supposed to tell what I think about that. Problem is, I don't know enough about it to think anything about it. So I'm coming back to that. Sorry to get your hopes up there. And let's move on to D. What is the simple answer to the following statement? Well, first of all, you have come to the wrong place if you want simple answers. We give complicated answers that nobody can figure out. We do not do simple. We do not do short. But let's see if we can handle this. What's the simple answer to the following statement? What does it matter if Paul was writing to Jewish believers? There is no Greek or Jew in the body of Christ. All are under grace. Yeah. Here's where it matters. Here's the simple answer. If he's not writing about the age of grace, that's where it matters. So if he is writing to Jews who are living out the kingdom program, and he's talking about that kingdom program, then that matters. I think we have to agree there is an overlap because, and by overlap, let me say that I mean there's the age of grace overlapping with the message of the kingdom, or there's the gospel of grace overlapping with the message of the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom, and there's this little time period we don't live in where they both go together. We only want that which is for the age of grace if we're going to apply it directly to our lives. So there's got to be that overlap, because Peter wrote 1st and 2nd Peter well after Paul comes along with the mystery. So he's talking kingdom stuff. I think it's an absolute non-starter to say once the grace gospel began, there was nothing left of the kingdom. That means Peter was wrong. He shouldn't have written his book. I mean, Peter mentions Paul. Peter knows that Paul is out there. Peter knows that this is the gospel that Paul is preaching. Peter tells his people to go hear that. But he's got a kingdom message. We do not apply Peter. So let me simplify. What does it matter if Peter was writing to Jewish believers? Let me say what does it matter if Peter's writing to Jewish believers? What does it matter if James is writing to Jewish believers? I think we would pretty clearly come in, and those who are right dividers would clearly say, no. Don't apply James directly. That's to Jewish believers. Don't apply Peter directly. That's to Jewish believers. Don't apply Revelation directly. That's to future Jewish believers. Don't apply Jude directly. That's to Jewish believers. Don't apply Hebrews directly. That's to Hebrew believers. So why don't we come and say, when Paul is talking to those people, don't apply it directly? That makes kind of perfect sense to me. Now, we have to come in and get it and rightly divide Paul, as we talked about, I think, two days ago, and come to that understanding of what has got to be known to get this to the right audience. It's a part of right division there. How's that? Thank you. Jose Mercedes, good to see you. Let's talk today. We should. Lourdes, Edith, the birthday boy, Stephen. What are you going to do for your birthday, Stephen? On the 79th birthday, what are you going to do? What would be appropriate for a 79-year-old in Winston-Salem, North Carolina? I think that this would be my recommendation. I'm doing just a little bit of research here. Here is what I would do. If I was turning 79 and I lived in Winston-Salem, this would be a first for me. I've not done this. But yeah, I think that I would go, where is that? I would go down to the Figgy Piggy in Winston-Salem and get their burger at the Figgy Piggy. Goat cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and fig jam. I have never had fig jam on a burger, but I would try it if it was my 79th birthday. Down at the Figgy Piggy in Winston-Salem. That's what I think you ought to do for your 79th birthday. Thanks, D, for the question. Now, there's a comment from Josh. Randy tends to since the last question was about a simple answer, it says Randy tends to ask the questions that go through my head and answer them honestly with amazing precision. Thank you, that amazing precision. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, let's go to Jay in Tennessee. Good to see you, Jay. And I think this question is perhaps a few days old, but our friend Jay in the hoodie in Tennessee says, where is Satan today, and does he move between the realms? And by the realms, he says heaven, sheol, earth. That's probably the realms. There's heaven, not the new heaven, but there's heaven, the throne room of God. There is sheol, the place of the dead, which I do think is a physical place. And there is earth. Let's go for that. By the way, Stephen J. says you should go skydiving. I think the Figgy Piggy is probably what I would choose. I like adventure, but skydiving, I don't know. It's expensive. It's probably fun. I think the second time would be fun. I'm not terribly afraid of it. It's just, I don't know. It's not high on my bucket list. The Figgy Piggy is getting higher there. Okay, does Satan move? I got ADD this morning or something, can't stick with the question. Where is Satan today? Does he move between the realms? I don't know if we know. I was trying to think if I can come. You know, you've got the passage that speaks about the devil prowling about like a roaring lion, and that's 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8. Let's go ahead and we'll go there. And I've still got last night's screen open, and so I've got 3 of them there. But let's go to 1 Peter 5:8. Be sober, vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Now, that doesn't tell us he necessarily walks about the earth, but we would kind of assume. He was cast down to the earth, but or he was on the earth, excuse me, I should say. He was on the earth in the Garden of Eden. He's going to be cast to the earth. He was cast away. There may be a realm, whether it's Sheol or a realm that we haven't mentioned that we don't know about. There's the prison, the abyss. Is he in the abyss? Probably not. I think there's angels in the abyss today, the bottomless pit, but I don't think he's in there. So how about that, Jay? I'm going to say you stumped me on it. I'm going to say let's do some more research. Now, I know that all the evangelicals, in fact, I suppose virtually all Christianity would say he's like a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. He's walking around. He's there in Tennessee, and he's here in New Mexico, walking in more places than one. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. He's under this rock, he's under that table. He's in that conference room. He's down at that hotel. He's taking care of business in Washington, D.C. It becomes difficult because then we have to have, if we think about this closely, we have to have a doctrine of Satan that says Satan can be in 2 places at one time. I don't know that we see that even if God the Father or God the Son, God the Father's in one place, God the Son is in one place, God the Spirit clearly can be in more than one place at one time. But I don't think that Satan is a spirit, so can Satan be in Tennessee and in Taos? If he can't be, then do I need to say, well, he's probably got more business in Washington than he does either in Tennessee or Taos, so Jay and I are safe? Because, you know, I heard once that the devil went down to Georgia, so maybe he's in Georgia. That's where he is. He's in Georgia. He's doing a fiddling contest. That's where he is. I think this is one of those that we would like a easy, simple answer. And I even think if we were to ask the internet, where is Satan today? Let's see if Got Questions has the answer. Here's my guess, is that evangelicalism especially gives simple answers. We take the answers, we go with them and say, yeah, that's where it is. But if you really begin to ask questions, it just doesn't work. It doesn't add up. And you and I, we're persnickety. We question the assumptions. We dig in a little deeper. So let's see if there's anything here and see if we can get a where is Satan today question, search results. Here we go. Is Satan in hell? Where is Satan? That's probably, does he have access to heaven? I think we had that question yesterday. What is the synagogue? Okay, let's go with the first one here, Jay, and let's see what Got Questions has to say about your question, where is Satan today? At the moment, Satan's not in hell, I agree. Rather, Satan roams the earth, seeking people to tempt and sin and thus separate from God. Now, again, let's be persnickety about this. He roams the earth, which means he can only be in one place at one time and only seeking, to use their words, seeking to tempt into sin and separate from God those people that are there right with him, which has got to be a fairly limited number. It would be interesting this morning to think, okay, it's 10 a.m. on Friday morning. What is the largest gathering of people in the United States right now, right at this moment? I'm going to guess it's somewhere around probably not more than 10,000 people. It's a couple of hours ago, they had the convocation, which is their morning chapel service at Liberty University. I think they have it at about 10 a.m. And they get 6, 7, 8, 10,000 people that are gathered there 5 mornings a week. So maybe on an average 10 a.m. Eastern time, that's the largest gathering anywhere in America. It's possible because Friday at 10 a.m., there's just not that many big groups. So if I was Satan, I would say, I think I'll go there. And then I've got enough time change that I can get to Tennessee when Jay's thinking about watching Ask the Theologian, and I can convince him he's too busy for it today. And then I can move over, just follow the time zones out and, carry out these things. And then they got a meeting in Washington. So even if he's able to move quickly, obviously it gets sort of, I don't know, a little bit of sarcasm there to say, yeah, Satan roams the earth, seeking to tempt into sin. Maybe I don't need Satan's help to be tempted for sin. Maybe I can tempt myself, put it right out there. My mind can go there without Satan. Is that really where he is? And all the implications of that. Now, of course, as we read, they take the answer from 1 Peter 5:8, but that has to do with, see if I can get rid of that ESV there. There we go. That has to do with the fact that they don't rightly divide, and so they wouldn't have a clue that 1 Peter is written to Jews scattered around the world, and it's a Jewish message. John 14:30, Jesus calls Satan the prince of the world, and the Apostle Paul referred to him as the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. Let's go to Ephesians 2:2 and see if we can take a look. Let's just put this into a single window here, and Ephesians 2:2. And I have a problem with Ephesians. It makes me spell it out. Nathan, oh Nathan. Ephesians 2:2. Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world. Now, I want to go ahead and put this right here. In time past, he's describing, you walked according to the prince of the power of the air. Is he still the prince of the power of the air, or is this still in times past? The spirit, the prince of the power of the air, he calls the spirit that now worketh. Okay, let's go ahead and put that yellow. Well, I tell you what, I want this part right here to be green. Okay. So in times past and now. So he puts the prince of the power of the air, the spirit, was working in times past and is now working. Let's assume he's talking obviously about the Pauline dispensation. But does he say the devil here? The prince of the power of the air, the spirit. Is Satan, Lucifer, let's call him Lucifer, the physical being of Lucifer. Is Lucifer a spirit? I think you would find nothing in the scripture to support the idea that Lucifer is a spirit. So is the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, is that just satanic ways? You could, again, probably give that argument, in which case then you come to the point of saying that what you've got here with the Apostle Paul referred to him as the ruler of the air maybe doesn't refer to him because he's referring to a spirit. The spirit who's now at work. Is that the same? You could argue, but you would have to argue that Satan is a spirit. Satan does not live in hell. He lives and works on earth and in the heavens circling it. I guess that's the atmosphere. Satan's the father of lies. He influences and rules the world right now. This assumes his direct involvement. I would agree. He influences, and maybe his influence rules the world. Satan desires worship. He uses deceit and distraction. Let's just, we got John, we got Matthew, we got John, we got Acts 13, we've got 1 John, we've got James, we've got Revelation several times, and that is it. So we've got some scripture that tell us what he did and what he's going to do. I would say, as much as we want to give this easy answer, that the easy answer is sometimes acceptable or sometimes easily acceptable, easily swallowed, but it's not always right. I think it's deeper than this. One of the things I would have to say that frustrates me is we love to simplify theology. And I think we love to simplify it too much. I think we ought to quit trying to simplify theology. I think we ought to say, hey, we want to make theology difficult. I don't mean not understandable. I mean, you got to work through these things. It's like, I don't know. I've mentioned a couple of times that I'm reading the autobiography of Billy the Kid that was written when Billy the Kid was 90 years old, 70 years after he was shot by Pat Garrett. What? We like to make history simple. Yeah, what was it, 1874, I think it was. July 14th, 1874, Pat Garrett shot Billy the Kid. Boom, he's dead, he's buried in Fort Sumner. That's what we like to do. But the facts often complicate the matter. And history doesn't become exciting until you get into all the facts and you begin to complicate the matter. That's when you begin to love history, because that's where all the cool stuff is. History without that is just a list of dates. 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Well, theology is the same. It's when theology becomes tough and difficult and you begin to look at this aspect and that aspect and you begin to tear it, that's when it becomes interesting. And unfortunately, it has been the big box seminaries and the pastors who promote this idea, theology, simple, 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 just 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, go kiss your wife and hug your kids. Amen, brother. That's why I don't know if I should say it this way, but I will. That's why most of you quit church. Because they made theology so stinking simple that it was wrong. Like this. So I spend a lot of time on there. But, Jay, where is Satan today? Does he move between the realms? Heaven, sheol, earth? I don't know. It's deserving of further study. How's that? Let's see here. Trying to remember which questions I got. Let's go to Myra in Wisconsin. And her question is, how do these two verses go together? These two verses are side by side, but I am going to go ahead and I opened up 2 windows on Biblify so that we can take Matthew 7:6, and over here, let's put Matthew 7:7. We could probably do that, but this way I can get them big. And we're going to see how these go together. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again to rend you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. How do these go together? You know, here's the premise I would put forth. Question this assumption. But I would say that they do not go together thematically. We're going to come back and question this a moment. But I would say they do not go together thematically. They only go together in that they're collected together. I think it's like, I think Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is almost a bullet list sermon, kind of like this program. How does our discussion on where is Satan go together with Matthew chapter 7, verses 6 and 7? I'll tell you how it goes together. They are both in Friday's program, January the 26th. That's how it goes together. Other than that, they're unrelated. So I would propose the idea that in Matthew chapter 7, if not 5, 6, and 7, there are little segments and sometimes one after another little verses that are tidbits of truth, fully truth, but they're small, tidbits of truth that are just out there. It is the sampler platter that is given. And taking that approach, giving that which is holy to the dogs, is not at all associated with ask and it shall be given you. Now, I would want to, we won't take the time to do it, but I would want to support that argument a little bit by looking at Matthew chapter 7 and seeing, is this a bunch of somewhat unrelated topics that he just wants to get all those out? It's the bullet list section of the Sermon on the Mount. I want to say this, and this. Not necessarily related, whatever order you want to take them in, here they are. So that's the way I would take it. But to do that, I would want to go through Matthew chapter 7, if not 5, 6, and 7, and display that he sort of moves around between these topics. Now, if you put them together and say they do relate, I mean, one's right after another, it's in the context, you can give that argument, then you almost have to take this ask, let's highlight ask, and put it with the problem of dogs, swine, and let's say trampling. The dogs and the swine, I think, is same group of people, and what they do is trample them. So if you put them together, I think you would have to take that and say, if you're around dogs and swine who trample things under pearls, turn to the Lord and ask, and it shall be given you. That would put a criteria to verse 7. Rather than a general prayer as it's often taken, the criteria would be in the context of being in the neighborhood of dogs and swine. So, for example, if you get to Washington, D.C., ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you. And obviously he's talking about asking of God rather than Chuck Schumer. Now, although in Washington they'll pretty much give away stuff too. So I would say it seems hard to connect the context of verse 7 to verse 6, which is probably, I may be wrong here, but it's probably the perspective you're coming from, saying, hey, we've been taught to take things in context, and if I take 7 in context, it is almost only under the criteria of that particular context, which is when I've got dogs and swine, and everything I give them, they trample underfoot of men, and so I just need to turn to God and ask, and only in that context is the promise. Now, if I were a non-right dividing evangelical on the conservative side who is not a name it and claim it evangelical, there's a lot of those out there. They're not name it and claim it, but they're not right dividers. I would say that would be a good avenue to go, is connect it to verse 6. Because I would be wanting to say, look, I mean, I'm no expert on it, but I have seen that you can't just ask and it'll be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. So how in the world can we make it that? It's in the context of dogs and swine and pearls before the swine and trampling under the foot. In that kind of scenario, God will get you out. I would narrow it down because that kind of scenario doesn't happen very often and I wouldn't have to deal with it. I think it's better to be a right divider. That's a good question. Myra, thanks for the question. Randy says, I read this article yesterday, which may have been the day before yesterday, about a Muslim jihadist group started in 1953. They were going to get rid of Muslim leaders who they thought were not Muslim enough. Oh, in 1953, there were a lot of Muslim leaders who were not Muslim enough. The Shah of Iran, for example. much of 1953, there was a lot of British influence, a lot of French influence. In 1953, I don't know when they stopped calling this, but remember Lebanon was called the French Riviera, the Mediterranean French Riviera or something like that? It was a wonderful place to go for a Mediterranean vacation, Lebanon. And Iran, people often went to Iran. They dressed Western. You can go back, I don't know about the 50s because it wasn't habit I guess it was maybe. But, I mean, you can go back and find Iranian women, in bikinis down at the Iranian beaches and get pictures of downtown Tehran, and nobody is wearing a black robe. And I think the same in most of the Middle East in 1953. Very few of the jihadist-type Muslims. So I'm not surprised. A jihadist group started in 53. They were going to get rid of Muslim leaders who they thought they were not Muslim enough. They probably began to work and said, hey, we could use guys like Jimmy Carter to do our bidding for it. And Jimmy Carter could make the Middle East to be Muslim jihadist. He's just dumb enough that because he's a stupid evangelical. Oh, yeah, God love him. God love him. Yeah, just let him do what democracy and love and God and Jesus. Amen, amen. That was Jimmy Carter's presidency. And he gave us the modern Middle East in many ways. The terrorist Middle East, the jihadist Middle East. Okay, going on. I don't even know if that's what the question's about here, but they were going to get rid of Muslim leaders who they thought were not Muslim enough. Do you think there are some very well-known ministries that have similar thoughts about other Christ followers that aren't Christian enough? Could you hint or name a couple if you know of any? So this goes just a little bit different direction. Let me before I go there, let me talk about the Muslim Middle East. If you find in the United States someone who is probably, say, over 50, and you meet them and they say, you pick up a conversation, you say, where are you from? And they say, Iran. You can pretty much say, oh, you're Persian? Yes, I'm Persian. They're not jihadist Muslim. They got out in the 1979 revolution that Carter caused, and they came over here for safety, and they might be Muslim, but they're not that jihadist kind of Muslim at all. So the world really changed from the 50s through the 70s. By 1980, it had kind of become what it is today, or is very quickly solidifying into that. But now let's switch. Muslims who say, you're the wrong kind of Muslim, we want to get rid of you. Are there Christian ministries who say, you're the wrong kind of Christian, we want to get rid of you? I'll have to say, first of all, I don't keep my ear to the ground that much on Christian ministries. But that said, let's just talk about, this is not a ministry, but let's talk about the church growth movement for a moment, which has lots of ministries within it, most of the big box seminaries and all sorts of others. The evangelicalism as it stands really does not have room for fundamentalism. I would say that none of the big box seminaries have room for fundamentalism. They will, I can tell you, at my seminary, and we did not cuss at my seminary, but at my seminary, the professors and everyone else called them fundamentalist. There was an animosity, a spite. You know, the fundamentalists, they didn't believe in education. They just were country hicks that wanted to go out with their King James Bible that they were convinced was the only word of God, and they were not going to listen to any kind of reason whatsoever. So within evangelicalism, there certainly is the concept and the idea we don't have room for a fundamentalist. This world is too small to have fundamentalists. So cordon off the fundamentalists. Don't talk about the fundamentalists. Get rid of the fundamentalists. Have bad PR against the fundamentalists. And you see some of this, I think, even with, say, Jerry Falwell, who obviously became, Jerry Falwell Sr. became very, very prominent in the United States. But it was with a lot of people kicking and screaming. And he was already leaving fundamentalism in a lot of ways by 1979 in the moral majority. But there were just a lot of people in, say, Southern Baptist churches. I don't know about Jerry. I mean, we got Jimmy Carter. He's one of us. That Ronald Reagan, he's divorced. They were madly against Jerry Falwell and his fundamentalism. We don't need any of that, those fundamentalists. I think you still find that today at the big box seminaries. This would be true whether it's a big box Calvinist seminary, because a lot of them have been taken over by Calvinists, or it's a big box evangelical seminaries. There is a disdain for fundamentalism, fundamental churches. They'll make fun of them, you know. Their signs 2 blocks long because they had to get all the, you know, KJV 1611, pre-tribulational, premillennial, dispensational, church on the lake. So there's all this, you know, I don't know, trashing them. So, are they, obviously, I would say they're not doing it the same as the Muslim Jihadist group, but the Muslim Jihadist group in those days didn't just go out and kill them. They sidelined them. I suspect, even, I don't know if Pastor Bays is here or not, but he's a student at Luther Rice. Luther Rice used to be called a fundamentalist seminary. I would suspect even at Luther Rice, there's a lot of kind of anti-fundamentalist talk. I may be wrong. If he's here, he can confirm that. Confirm or deny. So maybe it's just more of a thought process than an actual ministry to say that's working against that fundamentalist, but it's there. Appreciate the question. Randy in Corsicana. Kelly in Pennsylvania, can you explain the case for infant salvation? Yes. We have a couple of choices here. I'll lay it out in 3 choices. Maybe we could put more. We can say only those who receive by faith salvation are saved. In which case, clearly, any infant that dies is damned. That's one scenario. we can say, the Calvinist position, elect children, infants, are saved, the non-elect are damned. That's the Calvinist position. There's no other way around it. Or we can say salvation is available to all. As a matter of fact, we can say that sins are not being counted against them, so we set aside the doctrine of original sin. We do not say that little infant is born damned. They are born in the image of God, created in the image of God. And then we have to create a scenario which says that until they come to the place where they can put in their mind the ability to have faith, to make a faith decision, that God is going to provide them salvation. They're not damned to hell because of Adam's guilt. That's the doctrine of original sin. That's the doctrine that goes over here in that first scenario, that everybody is damned to hell, and you will, once you ask Jesus to forgive you, ask Jesus into your heart, you come and place your faith in Him, then He takes that away. The Calvinist position is everyone is damned to hell except my children. My children are some of the elect, and they're not damned to hell. God elected them and got rid of total depravity. Or everyone under an age of accountability is going to go to heaven if they die. Live long enough, they will come, regardless of where they live in the world, they will come to the point where they have the intellectual capability of knowing and discovering there is a God in this world. Now, who is He? I've got to do the research. I've got to figure this out. I've got to go to it. And it's at that point that they have a responsibility for their soul. Now, can you answer any of those with chapter and verse? I would say no, you can't. Can you make a good argument that here are children whose sins are not being counted against them? Here are children who have an inability intellectually to make the kind of faith response that would need to be given of God. It's absolutely, utterly impossible to do so. I think you can build a decent argument to say those children are headed to heaven. Now, this is where it becomes kind of uncomfortable to say it this way, but there's some truth here, that they are born saved. They are going to come to the point, like Adam and Eve, of walking away from the Lord and of needing to receive His gift, but till that point comes, they are saved. All of them, if you deal with them thoroughly, as we talked about earlier in the program, all three positions are uncomfortable. There's probably a fourth, like you could take the Catholic position that they're all born damned unless they got holy water on them, and that washed away their sins until they can come to their own point of confession. It's almost this position over here. Well, it's a mix of all those positions. They just added holy water in it. So all of them are a little bit uncomfortable because we can't just find an actual word there. I really think that, when Jesus says, like, suffer the little children to come unto me, I think there's enough about the heart of God and the mind of Christ to say if there was something that needed to be done to keep a baby from damnation should he or she die, that God would have revealed that to us. Now, again, that's an assumption. It's not necessarily a text in Scripture. It's more of an assumption. So becomes a difficult issue. It's one of these where, again, as we talked about today, salvation is not such an easy, theology is not such an easy thing. It's one that we really have to grapple with some of these things and begin to put them together. Excellent. Excellent question there. Nancy has a related question to Jay's question. And I'm not going to fully know the answer. Do you agree with Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum on the 6 abodes of Satan in his book, The Footsteps of the Messiah? I've got the book. I don't have mine here. But let's see if we can find what he's got to say. Yes. Oh, maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe not. There's a number of places you can get Dr. Fruchtenbaum teaching it on MP3. It looks like he has a book on the 6 abodes of Satan, which is probably the same thing that's in the Footsteps of the Messiah. I'm thinking somebody probably wrote it here, and I'll be able to find it. Let me check this one right here. Here's one, the doctrine of Satan. Somebody's got this. I'm not sure who this is. Faith Equip. I don't know them. But talks about what are the various abodes of Satan. We partially summarize an article. I bet they're in England or something, the way they spelled summarize, by Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum. Okay, so Satan was the first sinner. I guess that's abode number 1. When Satan fell, he was cast out of the mountain of God from the midst of the fiery stones. The arch-cherub, no more was Satan allowed to throne. He was thrown out of heaven. Today, Satan's abode is the atmospheric heavens, where he's the prince of the power of the air. Okay, so we looked at some of that and said, it's sort of a spirit that's the prince of the power of the air. So is that correct? But there you've got, okay. And then the God of this age. We didn't look at that 2 Corinthians 4:4, but again, that does not mean he has to be here to be the God of this age. Satan has access to heaven. We talked about that yesterday. When he enters, he accuses the brethren. When he comes down to earth, it's as a roaring lion, again, 1 Peter, for the purpose of destruction as an angel of light. During the middle of the 7 years, he is cast out for the next 3.5 years. Satan and his fallen angels will be on earth. I probably could accept most of that. Then he's bound for 1,000 years. So what have we got? 1, he's in heaven. 2, he comes down to earth. I think you could argue that he was in the Garden of Eden and knew all that from looking at the King of Tyre and what was given there. So 2, earth. 3, sort of, I guess we'd say, roaming this world. 4, cast out of heaven and just bound to the earth. 5, bound for 1,000 years, and I guess 6 probably would be the ultimately the lake of fire. I'm putting that together a little bit on a summary of that, which could be wrong. So I would probably agree with most of that if I've got Fruchtenbaum's position right. I probably would agree with most of that, except this position of where is he today? Could he be in a cottage in the satanic abode? Just like the Father is the Son is at the right hand of the Father's in the throne room, they're there, Satan is in his location, but not necessarily prowling about like a lion seeking whom he may devour. Thanks for that follow-up. Larry in Grand Blanc has a related question on Satan roaming about today. Do you think it's possible that the Pauline scriptures that mention Satan and the devil could also be synonymous with demonic angels and demons? Because the person of Satan can only be in one place at one time, as we mentioned earlier. So I came to this because we have no names associated with these demonic angels and demons, only the word Satan or devil. What say you? Okay, so, and I would remind you, the word Satan, or the Hebrew word Satan, is just the word for adversary. And there's even a sense, this is not, there's some nuance to this that we should dig deeper, but there's a sense in which the Jewish people don't talk about Satan or the devil as an individual, as Lucifer, like we do. They talk more about the Satan, the adversary, the evil that is out there, which kind of encompasses, they do believe in an individual Satan, but it kind of encompasses Satan, his demonic angels, and his demonic work, all of that together. So here, Larry says, okay, Satan could only be in one place at one time, but can he have employees who go out and do his work? And that probably used to be my position. Now, I think he doesn't need to send his demonic angels because he's got the Democratic Party. And there's enough of them to go out and do the work. Why should they carry that out? Well, there is this silence, this, just like I do not believe that Amy Grant got it right in the song Angels Watching Over Me. I don't believe that we've all got this guardian angel who's kind of, straightening up our desk every day. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. And so the angels aren't directly working, nor are the demons directly working, nor is God directly intervening, nor is Satan directly intervening. The natural order, including that which is spiritual, which is cooked into the natural order, is what is working today. So I think it's a hugely different thing to say Satan is not seeking whom he may devour, prowling about like a lion seeking whom he may devour today, and saying the work of Satan is not today. I disagree. The seeds of the satanic, or the fruit of the satanic seeds are coming. The satanic seed is bearing fruit, I should say. But does Satan have to be there manipulating it all? I don't think so. But if I were to hold more of an active Satan position, which I used to and which most evangelicals do, then I think I would come to that position that the spirit of the power of the air, for example, is Satan and all his demonic forces that are working through there. Again, doctrine of Satan goes in with the doctrine of the silence of God, and it all becomes decently complicated there. Let's close with this question from Deb in Arkansas, a current politics question. Since the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the invasion of Texas, and 25 states are sending their National Guard troops down to Texas, do you think we are headed for a civil war or worse? Okay, maybe. I'm going to say maybe, but probably not. The reason I'm going to say probably not is because I think human nature wants to avoid all-out war. And that the American psyche, some of us are ready, but the vast majority is not ready. So before it became civil war, something's going to break and it would back off and it would not be civil war. There is the possibility of civil war, but just like the Civil War in 1863 took, you could argue, 75 years at least to get to the point where shots were fired. Civil wars have started sooner than that, but a lot of times it's a lot of baking. So I think this is, maybe cooking, warming up, getting to somewhere down the future. But will it be this? If I had to put money about it, I'd say probably not. But again, anything can happen. Texas is like a whole other country, as they like to say. But let's talk about this. So the Supreme Court has allowed the invasion of Texas. I think what has actually happened, I'm disappointed in the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court has not stopped Texas from putting out razor wire and protecting their border. Texas can still do that. They've not put any kind of injunction on that. The injunction is, what the Supreme Court has said is, the federal forces can come in and cut the razor wire. So that's a little bit of a situation in which Texas legally can put the razor wire, the feds legally can cut the razor wire. And so it's more razor wire, please. More snippers, please. And laying and cutting and laying and cutting and laying and cutting. Now that's a scenario for a disaster. Somebody's going to get shot before it's all done, and that could be the shot that, is heard around the world. But at this point, Texas is not prohibited from doing what it's doing. I think Governor Abbott is well within his legal means to say, we're going to put out the razor wire. He can do it. And then federal troops can come in and say, we're going to cut the razor wire. And technically, President Biden can take these National Guard troops, state National Guards, and federalize them. And then, of course, they have to follow their orders. And they would be getting orders from Commander-in-Chief Biden rather than their state Commander-in-Chief, their governor. But here's what, if I had to predict anything, it would be this. Biden is spineless. He won't follow through on this. He's, it says it's going to go about being, till, today or whatever. I'll take you up, son, woodshed. Oh, I would, shed wood. And I think he'll back off for political reasons. That's my guess. Is he'll back off, Texas will keep doing it, Texas will keep doing their border, and Biden will say, well, the Republicans won't let them, and, try to blame it on Donald Trump. And not Mitch McConnell, well, him too, but, Snake, who's the snake in Utah? Snake Romney. Is it Mitch Romney? That guy. Oh, yes, Biden, and Trump. And that'll be what's on the news. But that not much will happen. Because I think if Biden pushes it, every trucker, every biker, every God-loving, apple pie-loving, gun-toting hillbilly, redneck, country boy, and maybe a few preachers will flood the border. It'll be like what's going on in Europe. I'd like to know more about this. What's going on in Europe with the farmer protests over and over and over, blocking things, stopping things, and Biden will back off and there won't be a civil war. That's a little bit my prediction. Now, the 25 states sending in their National Guard. Again, if he wants to, he can nationalize that. Would he? In an election year? I doubt it. If he did, somehow he would call Dick the dictator, Trump the dictator. Even though he's being the dictator. That's the way it works. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I hope, and I think they will. Well, I think Governor Abbott, he'll hold his ground. He's gone far enough on this that he's not backing up. And he's got the support of Texans on this. I haven't watched any Texas news or anything like that, or even talked to many Texans about it, but I would be very surprised if he's not getting lots of good mail and good press on this. So he's going to hold his ground. I think Biden is the one that will blink on this one, which is a little unfortunate because it'll just go away after a while. The news cycle's pretty slim and it'll go away. You know, unless Biden can find ways to, Abbott can find ways to keep it in the news, which is what needs to happen. And his position is pretty good. Pretty logical. His position is not, they can't come in. His position is, we have entry points for them to come in. They can't just swim across a dangerous river with their little babies. They can go down there to the bridge to the entry point, which is forcing it back on Biden. You're the one that invited all these people in here. You deal with it. That's your job. We can't just open the thing where they just come across anywhere and everywhere. We have entry points. Use the entry points. Just imagine if, I don't know, Sunday at church maybe, for whatever reason, people started, entering and exiting through windows, through air vents, through the side door, through the back door. They cut a hole in the roof. They just come in. You know what I'd be like? We have a door. Use the door. It's pretty logical sense. So Abbott's got a strong position. The Democratic Party and the Democratic establishment is so bent on an agenda here that they will not take logic. So what'll happen there? It'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure, by the way, that I would be all that upset with civil war, but I'm like Jay. Someone call Fess Parker. That's what we need. We need Fess Parker. There we go. I got to quit, but Fess Parker. Yeah. Just so you know, Fess Parker and I went to the same college. There's old Fess Parker right there. Alma mater, Hardin Simmons University. That's where I went there. He went on to University of Texas and University of Southern California, but Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. Okay, gotta go. Thanks for being here with us. Sunday, we've got that new... I didn't say two things. We got that new series, Exploring Habakkuk. That's 9:45 a.m. And then also, let me say, if you go to dispensationalpublishing.com, I've got this book, The Right Roman Road, free. That's how much it is, free. Free shipping, free everything. You just go on and order it. We're asking you to limit it to one. We're gracious enough in the age of grace that if you put 2 in there, you'd probably get them. But if you put 200, we'll probably call you and say, we'll need a little cash. But anyway, it's free till through February. Go on and order that. You do have to go to dispensationalpublishing.com and order it. Good to go. Thanks again, everybody. Lots of fun stuff that is there. Oh, you don't have to do PayPal. Yeah, that's a good word. On PayPal, we get pros and cons. Some people love it, some people hate it, but you don't have to have it. You can go right here, Dispensational Publishing, click there, and then all you have to do, just skip this whole thing right here. You just add it to the cart right there. And then you've got it in your cart and you can go to checkout right over here. And I'm already signed in, so it's got all the information. Or you can just type in, we've got to have your address, obviously. And it comes to 0 and you place the order like that and it will say, thank you, your order has been received. There it is. And you can do that. Madison, you don't have to send that one to me. You can cancel that order, but that's all there is to it. Just like that, you can get the book absolutely free. Thanks for being with us. Again, I go over every time, but it's been a delight to have each one of you. We'll see you Sunday morning, if not before. God bless you. Take care.